Welcome, builders, health tech founders, and product managers. Welcome to this explainer on architecting an evidence-based, AI-driven maternal care platform. If you're looking to build the literal next generation of women's health technology, well, you're in exactly the right place. Okay, let's dive into this. To really grasp the opportunity here, we first have to look at the sheer scale of this market. Right now, over 50%, more than half, of all pregnant women use or have used at least one smartphone app to track their pregnancy. Just think about that. That's a massive, highly engaged user base relying on these platforms during literally one of the most critical health journeys of their entire lives. For us as builders, that sheer volume of daily active users, it isn't just a dream scenario, it's actually a massive responsibility.
But, well, here's where the tension really begins. A recent systematic analysis looked at 226 pregnancy apps. Out of all of those, a tiny fraction, just 36 apps, control up to 97% of the market share on the App Store. 97%. But here's the truly shocking part. Despite this massive market dominance, a huge portion of these highly downloaded apps are actually pushing inaccurate medical information. They're relying on completely unscientific features. The market is absolutely huge, but the current quality standard? It's surprisingly low.
So, how do we fix this? Today, we're going to deconstruct the ultimate 2026 app by looking at 1. The state of the app market. 2. Building on scientific evidence. 3. The 2026 tech stack. 4. Integrating AI and wearables. And finally, 5. Designing for user trust. All right, let's start with Layer 1 of our blueprint. Section 1, the state of the app market, and specifically its current flaws. You see, the old way of app design was all about what we call feature creep, basically cramming in every possible tool just to keep users clicking. Think about fetal kick counters, right? 14 out of the top 35 apps feature them, yet systematic reviews show there is literally no clear clinical evidence for doing these counts. In fact, they often just lead to cyberchondria, spiking maternal anxiety for absolutely no reason. The 2026 way aggressively contrasts this. It demands evidence-based development, strictly vetted medical boards, and a super-focused set of features that pivot away from raw screen time and actually prioritize genuine patient well-being. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark drop-off you see in the data. Out of the 35 top apps analyzed, only 15 even bothered to mention the involvement of medical experts or organizations. But wait, it gets worse. When researchers dug a little deeper, exactly zero, yes, zero, of those apps actually detailed what the experts' roles even were. It's often just a marketing facade, just a name slapped on a landing page without any real clinical oversight in the actual product development lifecycle. Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 2, building on scientific evidence, and how to make it the absolute foundation of your platform. The financial incentive to get this right is frankly staggering. The worldwide FemTech industry is projected to exceed $75 billion by 2026. But the research is crystal clear on this. Generic, gender-neutral user experiences cause immediate disengagement in this space. Women navigating complicated biological and psychological life phases require highly tailored, human-centered design. Honestly, if your app just feels like a generic fitness tracker painted pink, it's gonna fail, for sure. So how do we actually build the system that powers this? Let's shift our focus to Section 3, the 2026 tech stack, specifically looking at the back-end and AI architecture. And this brilliantly illustrates the continuous AI-driven maternal data flow. This diagram, straight from a recent study on AI-powered maternal monitoring, highlights a pretty complex pipeline. We aren't just logging symptoms manually anymore. We're pulling in diverse biometrics, running them through a centralized cloud, processing them with AI, and then delivering predictive, actionable insights right back to the healthcare application. Breaking down that methodology step by step. Step 1 is data collection through medical devices and wearables that capture continuous vitals. Step 2 is data aggregation, which securely transmits this info to a centralized, encrypted cloud database. Step 3 is where the magic really happens, data processing. This is where AI algorithms sift through all that aggregated data to identify really subtle patterns and anomalies. And finally, Step 4 pushes this back to the healthcare app, empowering remote monitoring, early risk detection, and timely medical intervention. So the crucial point is exactly why this AI layer matters so much. We aren't just throwing around tech buzzwords here. Machine learning models, specifically advanced decision tree algorithms like random forest and light GBM, are being deployed to sift through highly complex physiological data. By hypertuning these models, they can successfully predict massive maternal health hazards. We're talking early risks of preeclampsia, premature births, and gestational diabetes, way before traditional symptoms even show up. Guys, this is literally about saving lives. But to feed those AI models, we need pristine data. Let's transition to Section 4, Integrating AI and Wearables, and explore the data inputs that actually gather these vital signs. Let's be real, manual data entry is dead. The cognitive load on the user is simply way too high, and the data you get is just too sporadic. A true 2026 platform relies on APIs from devices like the Oura Ring and Dexcom continuous glucose monitors. We're talking about pulling continuous heart rate variability, minute-by-minute temperature trends, overnight respiratory rates, and blood oxygen saturation. This seamless, totally invisible data collection is really the only way to accurately track physiological stress and fetal health without putting extra burden on the mother. Furthermore, the successful platform of the future has to escape the isolated app silo. Current systems fail because they simply don't talk to the doctor's office. The 2026 standard requires seamless, real-time integration with national healthcare databases, hospital electronic health records, and even the automated generation of digital birth certificates. Look, if your data isn't securely interoperable with the broader healthcare system, you're building a toy, not a medical tool. Finally, let's introduce the most vital architectural layer of them all. Section 5, Designing for User Trust, the ultimate UX layer. Because honestly, all this brilliant back-end tech means absolutely nothing if the user doesn't trust you. Just listen to this actual, real-world user review pulled from a popular pregnancy app. Quote, "Deleted this app after I received a recommendation to inject myself and my unborn child with an experimental biologic product, directly followed by a recommendation to not eat ice cream." Unquote. Wow. This perfectly encapsulates the failure of current apps. Pushing unvetted, purely algorithmic, or clearly sponsored medical advice instantly destroys a product's credibility. Trust takes months to build and literally seconds to lose.
And that loss of trust directly correlates with your monetization strategy. When researchers used natural language processing to analyze thousands of app reviews, it revealed that roughly 10% of all one-star and two-star reviews specifically cited commercial complaints. Things like pushing intrusive ads, shady affiliate links, and paywalling basic medical information. This leads directly to negative reviews, harming the app's organic growth and absolutely devastating user retention. So here is your 2026 Trust Blueprint. First, you must have a clearly documented, actively involved medical board. Second, avoid feature creep. Restricting your app to only what is scientifically proven is actually a massive competitive advantage. Third, zero unscientific tracking tools. None. And finally, strict adherence to HIPAA and GDPR isn't just some boring legal checkbox. Robust data encryption is a core feature that you should actively market to build user confidence. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a fundamental question, one that should guide literally every product roadmap in the health tech space. Are you building for maximum features, or are you building for maximum evidence? The builders who choose evidence will be the ones who dominate the 2026 market, earning not just millions of downloads, but the deep, lasting trust of millions of families. The choice is yours. Thanks for joining this explainer.